Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Diamonds Don't Need Gold to Shine podcast. I'm your host, Riley Acosta, with my co-host, Matteo Blandino. We are two Division One college baseball players who are big fans of the UFC. And yeah, this show is all-encompassing things in the UFC, ranging from fight news to scorching hot takes from Matteo. Matteo, thanks for doing this show with me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Ready to get started.
Right. So, as our first episode, a little bit of background on us. I am now a former Division One college baseball player. I've been watching the UFC for a long time, but I really got into it around the end of COVID. The first event after COVID in Jacksonville was the first fight that I watched from beginning to end, and that kind of started my love for the sport and been watching since then. So I'd consider myself a pretty decent and knowledgeable fan. On the other hand, Mateo, one of my former teammates, is, in my opinion, the most casual fan alive. So,
I get a lot of my knowledge off TikTok. Been watching since 311, and ever since then I became a UFC genius, I'd like to say.
yeah, so detailing our days around practice, we were both catchers. Mateo still plays for UC Davis, and I'd show up to the field and just immediately hear some of the absolute worst MMA knowledge in history. Blandy, do you want to talk about some of your favorite fighters and what is it about those fighters that you like the most?
So yeah, we got to start off, sadly, from 317, Charles Oliveira. Sadly, he got absolutely KO'd, but in his prime, I think he destroys Ilya, but that's a conversation for another day. Him. I like Tom Aspinall a lot. He's a big boy, just like myself. And then Dustin the Diamond, another one, a classic. And let me throw in Conor McGregor.
Yeah, so as you can probably guess, I've only heard about those fighters over the last few months until the end of the school year that we had. Personally, I'm a fan of a lot of people, but I am a huge fan of Charles Oliveira. I watched his title reign, Alexandre Pantoja, uh, big fan of his, and then
And
obviously
he's
Alex.
really disrespected in the PFG
I
rankings.
agree. He is extremely disrespected in the rankings.
He's definitely
Um,
top five.
I agree. Um, and a bunch of others. I'm just a huge fan of the sport. So the reason that we wanted to start this podcast is because Blandy has needs someone to tell his takes to, and now that's going to be out for the world. For the listeners here, you're probably wondering why the name of our podcast is Diamonds Don't Need Gold to Shine. And if you can recall what Blandy just said, one of his favorite fighters is Dustin the Diamond Poirier. So I'll let him tell the story a little bit more. But we're out at practice one day, and one of our hitting coaches is telling him how Dustin Poirier will never win gold again. And his response in front of the entire team was,
Diamonds don't need gold to shine, And if you really think about it, he's got one of the best resumes of all time. If he had a gold belt, if he would have beat Khabib, I would argue for him top 12 all time.
there you go.
I'd say he's higher than Max Holloway if he would have beat Khabib.
So that's that right there, the exact premise of this show. So every week we're going to talk about some fight news, make some predictions, bring a guest on, get to know about them. Usually someone from our friend group or someone in our circles that is into UFC, and we'll get some of Blandy's takes like that. So
Yeah.
to begin this first week, we're going to bring on one of Blandy's childhood friends, Peter Flores. But before he gets on, we're going to discuss this week's main event, and that is Derek Lewis versus Talison Teixeira at UFC Nashville.
My
Blandy, do you
balls
have
are
any
hot.
early?
My
That
balls are hot. He's gonna punch him so hard he's gonna make his balls fall off. Derek Lewis by KO.
we are now welcoming in one of Mateo's best friends, Peter Flores. Peter, thank you for joining us. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
What's good, bro? I'm Peter, bro. Friends with Riley and Matteo, bro. That's pretty much it.
Do you want to tell the audience a little bit about how you got into watching the UFC?
Bro, no lie, I'm low key amateur UFC fan, bro. I got into it scrolling on TikTok, bro, and then I actually started watching it like probably like a year ago because I went to community college and there's nothing else besides like gooning and watching UFC, bro. So
So,
you
so
don't
yeah,
even
we have a little bit of commonality between Peter and Matteo. Both got into UFC from TikTok, and a little under a year ago, these two attended their first MMA event, LFA in Santa Cruz. It was my third or fourth MMA event, but would like it if each of you kind of spoke to what that was like and if you enjoyed it or not.
Yeah, it was definitely a good experience. The crowd is electric when there's a knockout. And I like when they boo people when they suck.
Nah, it was honestly pretty fire, bro. I appreciate Riley coming down from SoCal, taking us up to Santa Cruz and stuff. It was pretty lit, you know. I really, I didn't fucking know anybody, bro. But it was fucking sick, bro. Just like getting into it and stuff, like watching like an actual mixed martial arts event. It was pretty sick.
Yeah, it was great, and I was telling Mateo earlier, maybe down the line we get to interview Buddy Wallace, so hopefully that
Oh,
would
bro.
work out. But now we're gonna get into predicting this weekend's main event. So Mateo has predicted Derek Lewis to win. Peter, do you have a prediction?
Nah, bro. I got the Brazilian homie, bro. Talashin Teixeira, what his name is.
Yeah, so in Derek Lewis's last fight, he knocked out some absolute blob at heavyweight. And in Taliesin Teixeira's last fight, he elbowed Justin Tafa and completely flattened his fucking nose
Yeah,
with his
bro.
elbow. So, as
311.
much as I would like Derek Lewis to win, I don't think it's that. I think it's gonna be a round one KO from Taliesin Teixeira. But
You are right
seeing
about the
Derek
round
Lewis,
one KO, but from Derek Lewis.
You got the worst takes, bro. What the fuck is
I
that?
got great takes.
Bro, this fucker thought Charles was
so
your name,
we've
bro.
already had a few of these. But Peter, do you want to explain more about how he has the worst takes? Probably about 317 as well.
Nah, he's just like he's slow in the head, bro. He just has like a little autistic spark to become an engineer, but besides that, bro, he's cooked, dude.
That's awesome. All right, so now we're gonna get into our predictions for the UFC 318 main card. So I'm gonna pull up the fights here, and first up on the main card we have Michael Johnson versus Daniel Zellhuber. I guarantee that neither of you know who the fuck these guys are, but
You
Fuck
know what?
no, bro.
I have no idea who these people are. Michael Johnson sounds American, so I'm going with Michael Johnson.
Yeah, I'm
Peter.
going with the black guy, bro.
So yeah,
That's one way to put it.
between this fight, Michael Johnson is a very 50-50 fighter, and will knock out a really good fighter and lose to a really bad fighter. I'm gonna choose Daniel Zellhuber by decision. Do you guys know who Dan Ige or Patricio Pitbull is?
I
I know
do know
people.
who those are, and I
I know
got Dan
people. He fought
Ige
Yair. He
winning.
fought Yair against and that fucking Volt card with Lopez.
Yeah,
Yeah, he fought Yair Rodriguez and got absolutely dog walked by him. And Yair
yeah.
sucks at fighting, so
Yeah,
I
Yair.
got, I
I
got, I got Dan winning.
I also will be taking Dan Ige. Next fight is Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez.
I
Kevin
got
Holland,
Kevin
bro.
Kevin Holland Kevin Holland by TKO.
Nah, bro. See, like, bro, those are the fucking ticks I'm talking about, bro. What the fuck, Mateo?
That is an
Great
absolutely
take.
terrible. That is
That's
an
a great
absolutely
take.
terrible pick.
Kevin Holland was. Oh my god, bro. Nah, I don't know, bro. Kevin
So
Holland.
Daniel Rodriguez's background, I can say, is more of a striking base, and Kevin Holland usually doesn't strike with striker. He's going to be looking to take down Daniel Rodriguez.
Yeah, he's gonna
Rodriguez
take him down, and he's
is
gonna
not the
just submit
most.
him.
He's so therefore you said Kevin Holland KO, not submission.
No,
So
TKO. Or sorry, yes, I meant submission. I meant submission.
What, bro?
okay, so I'm gonna be following Kevin Holland by decision here. I don't think he's gonna submit Daniel Rodriguez, but I do
Bro,
think he's gonna win.
he got fucking absolutely flatlined against the Ritter, bro, at 311.
Yeah, but that was at middleweight. He's now moving down to
Yeah, he was fighting
welterweight.
at
So
185.
Shit.
yeah,
All
and
right.
De Ritter fights heavy. So
Yeah.
are you picking Kevin Holland or are you
Nah, yeah, I'll pick Kevin Holland, bro. Fuck it.
all right, moving on to the co-main event. It's Paulo Costa versus Roman Kopylov. I personally think Kopylov's gonna win by decision here. I think Paulo Costa is pretty much done in the sport. But
I got to agree with you. Paulo Costa he's not good anymore.
You know shit about Paulo Costa, bro.
He's jacked,
I'm
bro.
taking Paulo Costa, bro.
No.
all right, and moving on to the main event for the BMF title, we have Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier. As Dustin Poirier is one of Mateo's favorite fighters, we're gonna let him have the analysis of this fight and have him take the first pick.
Well, they fought two times and Warriors 2-0 against him, and I think he's gonna complete the sweep and go 3-0 with the second round knockout.
Peter?
Nah, I got Max Holloway, bro. That boy was looking good against Gaethje, dog.
Yeah, I'm gonna be backing Max Holloway here. I think that even though Poirier has all the motivation to win by or win and retire on a win. Even though Holloway was KO'd against Ilya in his last fight, I think that he's going to use his volume and speed, kind of outmaneuver Poirier for the majority of the fight. I think he's going to win a 48 to 47 decision. Unfortunately for Blandy, Poirier will not be winning this fight,
I don't
especially
think
since
I
if he
don't think it's
wins,
going to decision.
if Holloway
It's not
loses,
going.
the BMF title will no longer be a thing, and I think that's motivation enough for him. And the fact that he's lost two to Poirier in poor circumstances, I think he has all the motivation he needs to win this one, and I think that'll be by decision.
Yeah, he's retiring Poirier, bro. 2 Saturdays from now.
Yeah.
Or yeah.
So now, Blandy, that you've been proven wrong, we're going to move on to the last segment of this episode, which will be a staple of our show, and that is Blandy's scorching hot takes. So
Oh,
me Me and the guest will be saying valid or not valid to each one of Blandy's takes. But since Peter, you are the guest, we want you to give us a few of maybe one or two of your all-time favorite takes, just so that me and Blandy can vote first.
all time or just like
Yeah,
current?
just give us and
Whatever you
in
want,
honor
dude.
of UFC 318, it would be great if you had something about Poirier or Holloway, but you could do something on your favorite fighter or anything like that.
Nah, I don't think this is a hot take, bro. I feel like Poirier would honestly be like a top 10 to 12 fighter if he ever got the actual belt at 155, man. He
Yep, I
was
said the same thing.
he was what, interim for like
I would agree.
2 months.
I'd still argue that he's top 20 without the belt.
His resume is insane. He has what? Yeah, he has Max Holloway twice, McGregor twice.
Connor twice, Eddie Alvarez,
Yeah, bro.
Gaethje,
He's good, dude.
a lot of good
Yeah. All
wins.
right. So let's have your next take, and then we'll move on to Blandy.
Bro, my next take, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I think John Jones flatlines Aspinall, bro.
I'm going to say not valid to that
Not valid.
immediately.
Not valid
Yeah,
at
that is
all.
an immediate not
Bro,
valid.
think about it, bro. Bro, he's a horrible person, bro. DUIs, beat women, bro. Like that's all the motivation, bro. He's crazy in the head, bro. He's undefeated for a reason, bro.
He's not undefeated, dude. He lost to Reyes and Gustafson.
Oh, he didn't, bro. You can
Yeah, he
argue
did.
that, bro.
He's
Technically,
27.
he
He's
does have
27 and
one.
2.
He has one loss on his record, and that is from
Against,
an illegal elbow.
against Matt, fucking wasn't Matt Hamill or whatever, bro.
That's right.
No
Yes.
I don't
fucking
count that loss,
a
but
six twelve elbow. That's dumb, dude.
He
he
should have
lost.
lost. He should have lost to Dominic Reyes, though, at I
Yeah.
believe it was UFC 226 or two something.
And
Yeah,
then the Gustafson fight was really close as well.
That's right. All
I would
right.
have been.
Thank you for you went 1-1 on your takes, Peter. So now we're going to move on to Blandy.
All right.
As this is the first episode, we would appreciate if they were some either McGregor takes or Dustin Poirier related.
Oh, you're going to get both. So, number one, I think Prime Poirier defeats and flatlines Ilia Topuria.
you're stupid.
Third round KO.
You're stupid, bro. You're stupid.
So we've talked about this before. I'm going to say not valid to the flat line, but I would say valid to maybe winning a decision.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you, bro. Like, I don't think he's gonna flatline Ilya, bro. Ilya got a chin, bro. It was proven in the Charles fight, bro.
And here's another one. Ilia's wins, except for Max Holloway, are not valid. You
Bro,
got Volk, who got KO'd like 6 months earlier. And then you got Charles, who was 36. Volk and Charles are both 36. In their prime, they're both killing. They're killing Taporia.
Porter's 28, dog.
Yeah, I know. He's 8 years younger.
Before,
I think the Volk loss was very not acceptable in terms of the fact that Volk was KO'd exactly 4 months before then and was coming down from 155, so he had to cut an extra 10 pounds. So he was going down and had probably some issues with his brain and not being able to take this shot with his chin. Charles, his fault is not that he's 36, it's that he should have left lightweight a while ago. I think the weight cut for him is just too draining. And
Well, you
it's
saw him in the press conference. He looked dead.
exactly. And
At the weigh-ins, he looked dead.
I think that he should have been in welterweight a long time ago, at 170, because 155 is just too much of a cut for him. So I'll give you a half credit on that one. Give us
Oh,
your
let me
next
get
one.
this one. I already know both of you are going to say absolutely not. But Conor McGregor beats JDM
Not valid.
at 170. He beats him.
I don't think
Peter
Mark
doesn't Pe Peter doesn't know who JDM is,
Jack
but
Del
it's not
Rio, bro. Of
okay. Yeah,
course I know who he is, bruh. Bro, seriously, I don't think Makachev beats fucking J.
I got JDM beating Islam.
Bro,
I got
it's
Makachev. I got Makachev winning that one.
it's minus one
Personally,
ten. It's minus 110 for a reason, bro.
personally, I got JDM. This is my hot take. I got JDM beating Islam. Islam goes back down to 155 and gets slept by Ilya.
I'll say this.
That's
I
not crazy.
think Islam has a better chance to beat Ilya at 170 than at 155.
Well, yeah, that's pretty obvious, Blandy.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's like it
You
doesn't take.
know,
Yeah, bro. That's,
All right, Blandy, give us one more to end the episode off.
I'll say this. Conor McGregor beats every single featherweight except for Alexander Volkanovski.
So you're saying
In
that
their prime, everyone's
he
prime for prime. He beats
he beats
everyone but Volk.
featherweight Ilya as well.
Hmm.
I
That's
don't
what I
think
got.
so, bro.
I think Volk and Ilya beats featherweight McGregor because you have to consider the weight cut that McGregor did at featherweight.
Well, bro, I don't. You know what? That could. I don't know, bro. Did you hear what an MMA guru said, bro? He had an entire episode just talking about the Ilya and Charles fight within those 3 minutes, bro. And he's saying like every time this full jab, bro, Ilya always brings his jabbing hand down, and like McGregor was always good at those little like
Yeah,
extra
McGregor wouldn't miss.
there, bro. So I don't know, bro.
I think that's a very interesting fight to think about. I think it could go both ways. I agree that Volk would beat a featherweight McGregor.
Hmm.
I know that McGregor did beat Holloway and Poirier. His wins against those two both came at featherweight,
Yeah.
and he obviously slept Jose Aldo at featherweight. I think
And he beat
him.
Mendez too.
That's correct. I think him versus Ilya at featherweight would be one of the greatest fights of all time.
Sadly, we'll never see it, but
You got
Do you have
unless he
horrible,
anything,
comes
any
back
other
for
takes
UFC
that you?
White House,
you got horrible takes, Mateo.
I got amazing takes.
Well, that's gonna do it for our first episode. Peter, thank you for joining us today.
Of course,
Yeah,
bro.
thanks, Peter.
Anytime, bro.
And yeah, we'll see you next week to discuss more of Blandy's terrible takes. Thank you.
Amazing takes.